hereby call this meeting, this workshop to order for the mayor and the board of commissioners. Ms. Sonia, can I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioner Lovinggood.
Here.
Commissioner Mosier.
Here.
Commissioner Richardson.
Here.
Commissioner Jinks. Here. Commissioner Stutz.
Here.
Okay, thank you. We have no one for a registered comment period. But in our workshop discussion, Mr. John Cleveland, our attorney, has drafted a document for the Oakland View Estates Road issues. So, John, can you review this document we can discuss what to do and maybe what the next steps are?
What you've been provided is a draft of a petition. The statute that authorizes us to assess property taxes for street any kind of improvements that we make as special tax assessments against individual parcels, says that the process may begin with a petition and then it says separately lists all of the property owners and the developer. Well, I think it's pretty clear that we're not ever going to get a signature from the developer. There's been many discussions over many years now, many different proposals. I don't think that the city's actually required to have a petition from other parties in order to pass a resolution to make these improvements and to charge the cost of it as special assessment. But I certainly think it would make more sense if the property owners ask us to do that. And that's what this petition is. It satisfies at least a big part of what the statute talks about in terms of a petition. In fact, except for the developer's signature not being on it, it sets out, it includes everything that a petition is supposed to. I think it'd be also make sense if those signatures were gathered by the residents themselves, property owners. As far as I know, there's no formal property owners association. There probably should be. But there are people here in the audience who are property owners there, and they've talked with a lot of the others. And I would hope that they would be willing to take this on if it's the consensus. I don't know that we need a motion or a vote or anything, but if it's the consensus of the commission that this is how I should proceed, is to coordinate with them and see if that's what they want to do. And that's what this petition is. Now, if this petition is presented and you all vote on the petition, no matter how many signatures it has or doesn't have, and you vote on a resolution based on the petition in order to do this, the resolution will have quite a little bit more detail. For instance, and this is, I'm not suggesting that you would want to do this or not do this, but one of the details it has to have in it is whether or not there's going to be interest charged on whatever we spend for the improvements, and if so, how much. And I'm not suggesting that I'm just saying that's the sort of detail that would be in the resolution that's not in this petition. But according to statute, it shouldn't be in the petition, so.
So can I recap?
I don't know, can you?
May I
I've
recap?
wandered around so much, I'm not sure if you can.
So here's what I'm thinking you're saying.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The statute authorizes that the process may begin with a petition, but it's not required. but you think it's a good idea to let the property owners who are desiring this improvement to be the ones to ask formally the city for this improvement. Get as many signatures as you can, bring it back to the city. The city would then draft a resolution that would answer some of the details like John was talking about. Then the city would go on to actually do the improvement on the roads, which would require at some point us to do a budget amendment or some kind of funding authorization to pay for the cost. And then I'm assuming we'll probably end up saying the portion of the cost that we're going to pass on to the property owners, which may not be the whole cost, because we've talked before, at the time the regulation was approved, and John has those documents if anybody wants to see what was originally approved, that regulation's slightly less than what it is now. So we would bring it to what the code is now for streets, and about a third of that cost is probably going to be just the city paying for it because it's a different regulation now. And then we would file a lien against the unsold parcels.
The resolution itself is the lien. We would record it in the Register of Deeds office once it's passed.
Unsold only or undeveloped?
The petition that we're talking about are only the unsold.
Well, that's a question I have, because it starts out saying, "We, the owners of the undeveloped parcels."
Well, as it happens, I think I don't think there's a I think the undeveloped
Or the unsold.
are the unsold.
Okay. But
Daryl-
you're getting the ones that already own lots to distribute the petition.
Right. Right. There are
I think
there are two lots that have been
are undeveloped, but have been sold. They're not unsold, but they've been sold. One of them, was Mr. Old.
West.
Yes,
yes.
yes. So his is
yeah.
undeveloped, but it's sold. I mean, he purchased.
There's three parcels, two owners.
Okay.
But for purposes of this, I mean, I guess there may be some conflation of the terms undeveloped and unimproved. If we say that once they're sold, they're developed, the developers let go of them once they're sold,
Yeah.
maybe that means undeveloped. Maybe that means they've been developed. Maybe a better word to put on there would be unimproved, or all the improved lots. This would be the owners of all of the improved lots.
So just to clarify, only the lots that are still owned by the successor developer would have the lien filed against them?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, but, and maybe I'm being too picky, but what's confusing to me is we're saying that this is the owners of the undeveloped parcels that are filing this petition, but that is not who has signed it, and it's not who we're asking to get signed it, and it's not who we're expecting to bring it back. That's the owners of the developed lots,
And I think,
right?
were you still gonna
They
ask if
sign-
he
Yeah,
wanted to
the
sign it?
owners,
You're
the
just assuming
owners
he's
of the
not.
improved lots.
Yes.
Yes, are the ones who are
Why,
signing it.
why is there not a spot for the developers to, there's not a spot for the developer to sign if he were to want to sign?
I'll be happy to add a spot for the developer's signature as soon as I have a snowball's chance that the developer will sign it.
I think it would be advantageous if every lot had a place for a signature.
They do. Oh, you mean including the
Yes.
ones that are still?
Yeah. And that way, we have given everyone that owns a lot at this present time a chance to sign this petition.
So I guess just adding a line right here.
And the reason being is, based on what Jim is saying, based on our question is, the lots that have been improved, AKA that have a house on it, these are the individuals that are living there day in, day out without streets that are finished. They've been wanting them finished since they moved into this development. one. The second is the developer or the individual that owns a lot is wanting to build a house and improve that lot, but it's kind of circular reasoning. They can't move forward until they have streets. Therefore, that's why I'm kind of requesting that every owner of every lot has a chance to sign. I mean, whether they sign it or whether they don't, it's a question that I personally feel needs to be asked because of the situation and kind of where we're from or where we've gotten to, you know, from the original point. In that I see this as a compromise, for better lack of term, a compromise in this is the closest we've ever been to moving forward and getting help or even delayed payment on this. But it puts together a document that shows we are all trying to move forward in good faith.
The possibility of adding those other lots raises another question about the petition, in that this petition could, but does not, ask that the cost be apportioned among all of the parcels, all of the lots in Oakland View. All of those people have paid taxes and such for all the times they've owned their lots. But on the other hand, they all enjoy the benefits of the streets and have the unfinished streets the whole time they've been there, and they will enjoy the benefit of the top coat being applied to the streets just the same as anybody else. But I don't know why any of the homeowners that are there already would petition the court in that way to tax themselves. So, not seeing a reason that they would, sign that, I did not prepare it that way.
Well, as the homeowner in the neighborhood, I think our concern is we all thought, knowing that eventually those roads would be repaired by a developer. So our concern is that then at this point, we don't have that developer that we originally started with. The second developer purchased it. Our understanding was he purchased the portion of the actual road. So again, as a taxpayer, as someone who pays in utilities and supports the city, I pay my taxes on time every year. I'm pretty sure these two do as well. But the concern of it is like, at this point, what percentage of homeowners do you need for signatures? How big of a, approve, like, do I need to get names of all of these people or most of these people? What are you guys asking of the homeowners? Because whatever you want, I'm willing to put my name on the line to get it done.
You're asking me.
Or anyone.
I don't know. I can't tell. And the statute gives absolutely no guidance about how many we have to have in order to do that. Like I said earlier, I don't know that we have to have a petition. So if a majority of the homeowners, if plurality, if all of them, I really think that's
Enough
something
homeowners
that's up
that
to
it
y'all.
inspires the city board to vote to pass a resolution to do it. Would that be an adequate way of saying it?
Yeah.
John, what's the difference in the road requirements between as originally approved and what we require now? What are we talking about?
The original requirement that I found on the plat was 1 inch top coat, an inch of asphalt. An inch and a half is what our planning, or our current subdivision regulations call for. There had been some discussion about going up to 2 inches, but I believe, let me check one more time before I tell you for certain. I believe it still says inch and a half, let me see. Top coat. 2 inch. Yep. Wearing surface, shall consist of 1 2-inch compacted thick coarse asphalted concrete plant mix surface treatment, so 2 inch. Originally, when it was adopted, it was an inch. We're currently at 2 inches. What's there is a 2-inch binder. It just is lacking the 1-inch asphalt that was required at the time.
And if our developer came in tomorrow and said, okay, I'm gonna finish the roads, does he have to comply with the plan he bought or what we require now?
Well, because that one,
Expired?
expired, that would be a decision that would be planning commission and city council, some sort of an agreement that, by the letter of the law, 2-inch top coat is what we require.
That's where we'd start.
So to meet our requirements, it would, 2-inch. I think maybe, a discussion
Is that
with
what
the
you got a
developer.
quote for?
A 2-inch,
You remember?
did we get
The
the quote for
bid that we
2 inch?
got, David, you'll have to refresh my memory.
I think we got an inch and a half.
Inch and a half.
I think, yeah,
There had
I
been
think
some
it was an inch
discussion.
and
So
a
it probably actually costs more, a little more than we think,
This is an inch and a half price.
yeah.
Where my question was going to go was based on the manhole covers and the water meters and all those, are they sticking up 2 inches or an inch and a half?
Look closer to an inch and a half.
It just depends. On the low side, if it's sloped, some of it's 2. On the high
Gotcha.
side, some of it's an inch. So it would be one of those things that it would have to kind of be feathered out, but in my opinion, if you went with an inch and a half, and
Yes.
that's the bid we got,
Yep.
you're probably gonna get pretty close, and then you can smooth it and feather it down.
That the driving force behind that question is, if we got this quote for an inch and a half, could we make an inch and a half work without?
Yeah.
And okay, what I'm hearing is yes, with some feathering.
Okay, I have a question. So last week we learned about TIFs. Is there any way that we could work with the developer and try to TIF this? Is a TIF something that has to be so big before you can use it? Because if I was a developer, I think I would rather have a TIF where I'm getting my taxes back, so I'm being paid for the infrastructure I put in, versus I have liens on all of my property. It sounds gentler, but I don't know if it's nicer.
It's a very good question.
But could we TIF this?
You can,
My-
it just costs
my-
more. You gotta pay attorney fees, you gotta,
My
Well,
my
you also-
professional opinion is that I don't know. But
Well-
based on my really brief review of the other statute that allows us to do this, is that it has an anticipated economic impact requirement of $20 million. There's no way that you can say that about Oakland View. You might easily say that about the development on the other side of the interstate. So I don't think it fits.
Remember too, Chris, one thing he did caution us about was what we made it available to. And I think if we once said we have a policy allowing residential TIFs,
Yes.
we're also going to request from the developer behind Burger King, the one outside Hall's
Yep.
old store,
Yep.
and anybody else that comes in wants to build
Yeah.
200 houses, they're going to want a TIF,
Good point.
Yep.
put their infrastructure in.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he cautioned us to don't just throw it out there, make it restricted on what you will help it with.
Gotcha.
Yes.
But I'm in agreement. It does sound much softer.
So moving forward, where does the board wish to go with this?
Yeah, let's get some petition people signed and go to the next step.
Okay.
I mean, once again, whether they sign it or whether they don't, I would like to give every individual the opportunity to sign this
Oh, I'm happy
in,
to- I'll
yeah.
I just,
We're gonna have
And-
a neighborhood meeting.
and-
He's more than welcome to take
And
that.
the reason I say that is it's a bad, it's an unfortunate situation that you guys have had to live with. I think it's time all of us come to the table and try to figure out an immediate paving and a long-term, payout that is fair and equitable to everyone. And I think this document, giving everybody the chance to say yes or no, is a big first step. So,
okay. I'll add the signature line and think about whether or not I need to clarify who that these are all of, because they will be all of if I add the signature line.
Yeah, and does the statute say one or the other?
No, it says and.
And, okay.
And
I'll
then,
email you and connect our meeting, we have to take the document and then I'll move forward with getting signatures.
okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you for doing that, John. So we're going to move on. The board here a few months ago agreed and voted to reallocate the CDBG funds from the community center to the rec project. Jessica, can you give us a
Yes.
update?
Me and Sam a tag team on this since he's the architect of record on the project. So you all remember we decided to move forward with the community center project, move the CDBG funding over to LPRF because of the small floodplain issue there on the corner. And there's no floodplain issue at LPRF. Where the pool project is. The LPRF grant is $1 million grant with a 50% match. They have given approval for us to continue on that project and adding CDBG money to it. They were a little uncomfortable with, they want the match to still be ours. And trust me, with the numbers we're looking at, the match will still be ours. We won't be using CDBG money to make up our match money. So the $500,000 we'd already committed to this project, we will continue to be committed to on this project as the LPRF match. What we are waiting on right this second is that second phase environmental that has to be done now at the recreation property. And we've probably got 4 to 6 weeks on that, I would say, before it's completed. East Tennessee Development District has assigned 2 staff members to make that their top priority and get it done. So hopefully in the next month, we will need to make some firm decisions about these 3 proposals that Sam has given you. The reason you have 3 scopes is because we now have to go back to CDBG and say, instead of your scope in your grant contract on CDBG that says we were going to spend this to build a community center, we need to change that scope to say we're going to use it at the recreation complex. So while they're doing that environmental, we're going to be asking CDBG for this scope change. But we need to be able to tell them what we want in that scope change, and we need to be specific about it. On LPRF, if you put it in the scope, you have to complete it. On a CDBG grant, you put everything in the kitchen trash can and the kitchen sink and everything, the refrigerator, everything in the scope. And if you don't get all those things finished, it's okay. You're still once you run out of money, you're done. So on a CDBG scope change, I asked Sam, break this down a few different ways for us. Show us the optionals. We're going to go ahead and put them in the scope change request for CDBG. It doesn't mean we're actually funding them. It just means if we had all the money in the world to do this, these are the things we need to fix at the recreation complex. Y'all may remember we had a little bit of a discussion about how CDBG didn't really want to do a pool project because they felt like a pool project should be funded by LPRF, which it is. But they are more comfortable with working on a recreation complex. So that's one of the reasons in Scope 3 you'll see several things for other items that are inside the recreation complex because we think it makes it more appealing to CDBG. And I'll turn it over to Sam to kind of go through each of those scopes and explain where we came from. Just so you know, on the LPRF grant, what we applied for originally for the grant was to resurface the pool liner, either put a liner in or put new concrete in or whatever it would take to fix the lining of the pool to where it wouldn't leak so much and be safer and all that. We also applied to redo the bathhouses, the concession stand, making those ADA compliant so we can quit renting porta potties every summer that are ADA. So those were the 2 things that were in the LPRF scope and what's still in the LPRF scope. After talking to contractors, they came back with consistently they gave us a suggestion about the plumbing and infrastructure underneath the pool. So, Sam, take it away.
All right, so just for ease of looking at without getting lost, pull this one page that has numbers and scope. Okay? And then also this sheet right here, it basically has the funding. You just tell me when you're there. All right, so in looking at the funding, the way we break this down is the original LPRF grant was 1.1 million, okay? Now there's multiple things that were in that grant that's still gonna be paid for with just LPRF. But now that we have CDBG money, we now have an additional 1.136, okay? So total combined with the money that we've already got allocated to these grants, we have 2.2 million, okay? So go back to this sheet that lists scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. And you see that all of these combined scope is now at 2.6. And you're gonna say, Sam, even in Sweetwater math, we're still 400 short, okay? Working back up, scope 3 was put into the project when we move the CDBG. We can cherry pick all of these items, put in or take out, okay? Scope number 2 was not in the original LPRF because at that point in time, LPRF only had 1.1. So, for better lack of term, we were only fixing the ADA issues and we were only fixing the surface issues. But as we got folks in to fix the surface issues that were truly public pool contractor, they would say every time, how long has this been in? How long has this been in? How long has this been in? And we were like, 50 years. It's all good. They would nod and say not so much. So, when all this came back around with this information and with 2.2 to spend, I brought this information back to Jessica and said, look, new filtration system and the perimeter plumbing from the pumps and the filtration to the pool, with this additional money, it would be an opportune time at a minimum to get a new filtration, pumping, and piping system at least engineered and designed and get a quote on it. Because if we're going to be repairing the surface of the pool, while we've got all of that tore up, cut up, patched up, if we're ever going to hit reset in time with a project that's 50 years old, now would be the time. Because what I didn't want to happen holding this knowledge is we get a brand new pool resurfaced and it looked beautiful and bright, and then one month, 2 months later, something goes wrong with the old plumbing and we're ripping it out again. So I was like, here's the information. And Jessica said, put together all of this to present to the board.
So is this just design or is that actual?
So, good question. the new filtration system 260 and the perimeter pumping piping 330. This is the estimates from the pool guys for the equipment, for the plumbing, for the installation. When we had this number, we did not have this number. So of all the numbers that we do have, this 17.5 is not included on this sheet because we just got this a couple of weeks ago. So I guess what I'm asking is if the board feels like it is advantageous to at least move forward with the engineering, get this priced out. The 17,500 is DWR Aquatics to do the engineering for stamped engineering drawings that we will then submit back to the health department as part of this total project. But I guess I will pause and basically ask the question as I joke at the office, but it's not really a joke. I'm just one vote, but it would scare me to do all this work without at least looking at the possibility of replacement of this system. So, what's the pleasure of the board, or what questions do you have based on the information presented?
With this amount of money going into the project, if something breaks within a month, I want somebody else to be responsible for coming in and fixing it.
Sure.
So, I mean, with it being 50-year-old equipment, there's no chance that I would want to take a chance on that happening, and it's very possible, especially with all the movement that's going to be going on up there during the other construction. It could disrupt something, or everything's going to be fragile up there anyway. So I think all or none in my book.
And the thing for me that gives me some comfort in moving forward is we literally have, would you say, we've dumped the whole kitchen sink into this, and there's a lot of add alternates or deducts that we have in this that we can adjust.
Well, in scope 3, I would make sure that we get everything associated with the pool would be a priority, like lighting improvements, if the shade structure of the pool.
Sure.
Like those things that are associated with the pool. I think while we're in the pool, we should get that fixed and then move on to these.
And I'm not going to disagree with that, but in there, we need to look at those security camera improvements, because 70% of those up there are not reliable, and we just spent a ton of money on some resurfacing on the floors of some of the playgrounds and things like that. And if somebody came in there and destroyed it now, we wouldn't even be able to go back and look at cameras and see who did it.
There's another item that I didn't point out that would be one of those we wouldn't have to do it, but we, while we're doing it, is there's $94,000 of pool deck equipment, and inside that pool deck equipment is 4 dive stands, 6 four-tread stainless ladders, 1 commercial helix pool slide. That's a brand new slide, and 1 meter diving tower. So there's another line item of add alternate deducts, that goes in that list, not just scope 3.
I think maybe the easiest way to say this, which Sam's done a great job explaining it, is scope 1 and scope 2 would take up all the grant money that we have. We're listing scope 3 in the CDBG scope because they want it to be more than just a pool project. And if we don't have enough money to finish those in the grants, then maybe those items in scope 3 are what we know to look at in our capital improvement plan over the next 5 years, to do shade structures, to do upgrading the soccer nets, to adding. I do agree the cameras, if we're going to do this, we probably need to go ahead and do the cameras immediately, but that whatever we don't get done under the grant, scope 3, we're not necessarily committing and saying we're going to finish those things, but we are putting them in there so that if we do have extra funds, we can do them, and maybe that's also what we try and work into the regular budget.
Considering that we're already in October, do we hope to have the pool open this summer?
So yes is the short answer, but once again we need to move, and in talking with LPRF, they're going to allow us to bid and start just the pool portion. So what we could do is we could start the pool portion, and if we had to, and obviously didn't have the pool house, the bathhouse restrooms finished, we could then do portables. But the pool itself and the pumping would be resurfaced and finished.
Would that possibly call for larger quotes if you separate them? Could you get a better deal maybe if you?
The short answer is typically always yes, if you bundle it. However, we don't want the city to be up against another summer without the pool. So that's been our biggest request with LPRF is get the environment done so we can get on with this.
And of course, the actual pool resurfacing, the plumbing, the filtration, all that, that's going to take your most time anyway. So, I mean, if it's a little bit after that before you can bid the rest of it out, I mean, they could possibly have that part of it done.
I think it's totally doable in that we could quadrant off that whole bathhouse area, and we could enter from the court side and the hill, and have the pool open and construction. It's not ideal, but at least we check the box and say the pool's open this summer.
And really tonight, what we needed to hear was that everybody agreed we needed to work on scope 2. Like, nobody's saying that they don't want to do scope 2. So we need to go ahead and authorize DWR Aquatics to start moving on the design phase of that. Then we can get solid numbers for scope 2. And we're going to go ahead and put scope 3 in our request to CDBG for the change, but those things may or may not. We're not making any promises on scope 3. And, funding will be a big consideration of that. And of course, it all comes down to what we get bids in at. So we won't really know anything until we get firm bids in.
So here's the other side of excuse me, the other side of the discussion that Jessica and I have had. What we are in hopes of is LPRF finishing the environmental, and we at least bid the bathhouse portion of the pool and the community center. Because having two projects side by side, one contractor could oversee both. And our hopes is in getting better prices for the bathhouse, better prices for the community center in close proximity. That's what we're pushing. Gently requesting. Come on, guys.
So no opposition to scope 2 is what I'm hearing. Everybody thinks it's a good idea to do it while we're in there.
Yes.
Okay. Sam,
All
get that
right.
back to DWR and tell them to get to work on it.
I'll have it
Kind of pull to
scanned.
get open.
Yes.
Thank you for your due
They can be
diligence
back with us
in that,
tomorrow.
Sam.
Yes.
Okay, so we recently, anything else on the pool project? Okay,
that's
thank
it.
you again.
Thank you, guys.
We recently voted to purchase the lot downtown, and I think we need to discuss what we want to see happen to this lot. Does everyone know the lot that I'm speaking of, right there beside Regions?
There is a picture of it in your packet.
Yeah.
That helps it all.
So I'll open the floor up for discussion of what we would like to see, what you all would like to see. Any?
The sky's the limit.
Any? Yeah.
Be a great location for a Hampton Inn or something.
It would actually be a good location for a downtown hotel. I'm assuming we want to use it for parking, at least initially.
Like a 5-story
Is that a
parking
bad
garage would be
assumption?
great.
Yeah.
At least 3.
I would say though, as we go through this, can we do a little bit of landscaping around it, like maybe a line of trees or something, a little bit of beautification on the lots, and then repaving?
Could you show us in the picture where the alleyway is that we have to stay out of?
Sure. There is an alley that runs between the lot we bought here and this building. So the alley is actually back up here where these cars are parked. Okay.
The
So
white
here's
one?
our lot. Yeah, like the two
Yeah,
white cars.
okay, gotcha.
The alley runs right up against the back of the building. And then this, of course, is a city street, and this is a city street, and this is a city street. So it's surrounded three sides by public city streets, and then by a privately owned alley across the back.
You said, I heard privately owned?
Yes, Neil Kiker, I think, or Kiker Funeral Homes, or one of their
Oh, okay.
entities actually owns the strip back between there. And I think primarily the purpose has
Yeah.
been to put their dumpster in,
Gotcha.
and then they've had some issue with the dumpster company saying they don't want to go in that alley, and so.
Gotcha.
Their
So-
dumpster is now
In
over
the
here
parking lot.
by the side of the building over here.
Back here,
Right.
yeah,
Oh,
up
okay,
here.
is it-
It's
okay.
inside that little cutout. He's got another little, so it's not on this lot anymore. I don't know when that Google map picture was taken, but it's not in the
Okay,
parking
it's
lot
not,
anymore.
okay.
So I didn't know if you all wanted me to pursue a full landscape architect design on a parking lot, or if you just wanted to say, can David's guys build some islands at the bottom with trees in them, or what your thought was for the parking lot area.
I mean,
'Cause obviously we need to budget some money for, resurfacing it.
Well, I think we have, just my opinion, some talented individuals in our city.
Well, did good with that parking lot of where y'all put those islands of the library, or down below the library.
Yeah, we can do the work if you want to give us the money.
And then obviously you guys have done leaps and bounds and wonders with the parking downtown on Main Street. I believe it or not many people envy parking lots, but there's a lot of cities around here envying our parking lot
Yes.
and how it's used and how it makes our town look. So thank y'all again for the wonderful work that y'all do, for sure.
And I guess the next question is, do you all feel urgently enough about this that we want to start to get a quote now? Or is this something you think, let's put it in next year's budget and we'll start getting quotes in April or May to try and get an idea about what to put in there? How urgently do you want us to address it? I wanted to go ahead and put it on the agenda now that we own it, just so, we have a discussion about it and we're not just, we forgot about that. But, is this something we want to take money out of fund balance and fix it up in the next 2 or 3 months? Is this something that we want to budget for next July 1st and put in that budget and just get estimates and quotes and talk about it when we talk about the capital improvement plan in February or March? Got any thoughts on that, timing wise?
We've got an awful lot going on right now.
Yeah, we do.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say I think just having it is a breath of fresh air, and the options are endless, and people can use it for parking now.
We could add some gravel to it,
That's
smooth
what I
it
was
out,
gonna say,
roll it in.
because
Sure.
there's enough
I mean, but
cracked up.
as far as going full
Yeah.
bore and
Yeah.
spending hundreds of
I mean,
thousands,
we can dress it up for just a little bit of money.
Yeah.
and make
Yeah.
it usable,
One question I would have, with that being a private alleyway back there, and this is gonna be all public use now, do we need any kind of fence back there to keep liability down?
I don't know that Neil has, he knows that I've had a conversation with him about it. He hasn't asked us to do any kind of barrier or anything like that. Not that can't be an option, but, and I don't, Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't really had any issues with vagrants or anything back there, so I don't know that there's, a problem with that currently. The business owners do a pretty good job of, keeping an eye on it and making sure there's presence back there.
Lit up pretty good from the bank.
It is lit up, yeah. Okay, so what I'm hearing is let's talk about this in the capital improvement plan. Okay? Very good.
Okay, moving on. Jessica, if you'll give us your monthly update.
Yes, I'm so happy to. We did get a Tennessee Enhancement Grant Award for the Biggs home. So Haley was instrumental in submitting this grant application. It is through the Tennessee Department of Tourism. We got $98,000. So that's a pretty good chunk of change to work towards that house. Y'all may remember when we got a roof bid a while back that it came in at around 50. So half of that money would be spent just fixing the roof. In that particular grant, we also said we could use it for plumbing, electrical, interior walls, and flooring. So it won't go to cover all of that, I'm sure, but we tried to make it as broad as possible so that we could do as much with that grant as we could. I just wanted to make the announcement tonight, but not actually do anything on it yet, other than you'll be telling me I can execute the contract in the October 6th meeting. Because we are still waiting on another grant that was going to do the planning on it. Because we don't have any electrical or plumbing or anything in that house, we did kind of need some drawings and stuff to say this is where it needs to go, this is where it can come from, all of that. We applied for another grant through the Tennessee 250th. They're celebrating 250 years of America in 2026, so they're doing grants to city governments for historic preservation. So we applied for a planning grant for that. We will find out about that on October 30th if we got that grant. From what I'm hearing, it sounds like we have a really good chance at getting it. So if we could get both of these together, we could really move forward, bid everything out, get a majority of the work done on the big zone. At the same time, we still haven't really made a firm decision on what we want it to be when we're done with it. So that's a discussion we need to have also. I wanted to go through Sweetwater Main Street. Josh will do this in more detail when he does his annual report next year, but 2 weeks ago we had Dr. Bridget Jones from Tennessee Main Street, one of their consultants. We had done a 200 response survey. The last time we did this was in 2019, which one of those papers is also in your packet, and I'll get to that in just a minute. I just wanted you to see what those immediate results were. The very first page that's in your packet about it talks about the community survey results. The question asked was what one word comes to mind as you think about things you like downtown. The biggest answer was charming, then shopping, friendly, community, quaint, beautiful. They also mentioned the businesses, it's clean, inviting, the stores, it's good walking, Hallmark, that's my favorite thing to hear. Variety, vibrant, cozy, and the restaurants. So I thought those were great words. The state was very happy with the results. Obviously, we send these to people who like us when we send out the survey. Like, we send it to our Main Street business owners. We send it to some of our junior Main Streeters at the high school. We send it to people who own businesses in downtown. So we're trying to skew them results a little bit to be positive, but even so, the state does not typically get all positive results in their responses on this. So they are always impressed with the amount of participation we have for a small town and also the things that they put in their survey results. Top 3 reasons they come to downtown, you can kind of look through that. The one with the highest amount was events and festivals. Second highest was dining, and third highest was shopping. So, those I don't think that's a surprise. The third page talks about what are the destinations that you're visiting when you go downtown. Typically, these word clouds, they actually lump everything together. So instead of Lazy Beagle being on there 6 different times, it would be just a bigger word. So I'm not quite sure why it didn't pan out that way this time, but you can still kind of look at that and get an idea about which stores and which locations people are visiting the most when they're coming downtown. The next page talks about what types of service businesses you would like to see. If you'll notice, co-working space was actually the #1 answer. That's one of the things we had talked about on the Biggs house that we might consider opening it for. I do know from this weekend, someone stopped me and said that they were renting a place close to downtown, and they come to the train car every day and sit in the train car and use the Wi-Fi and work from the train car every day. So I thought that was kind of interesting. We do know one of our business owners that purchased John Cleveland's building is going to be opening some co-working space office in that building. So it may be we don't need it at the Biggs house, but I did want to just point out that was our #1 answer, or one of the #1 answers on that survey result. It consistently kept getting picked as #1. And then fitness was a big one, health and beauty was a big one, grocery store in downtown. So that's just kind of some food for thought. The next page talks about what category is the greatest need in your downtown. Entertainment was the one that was picked first. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. I think that's probably very similar to result to what we've had in the past. I do think when we hired this retail recruitment firm in October after we get those bids and proposals in, I think it'll be interesting to see if that's the gap, if that's what the gap shows, that people are leaving Sweetwater to go somewhere else. Is that our retail gap still that they're leaving Sweetwater for entertainment? Because that has always been a pretty big gap. The next page talks a little bit about what one word comes to mind when you think about things you dislike about downtown. So I wanted you all to see that. Some people said it's too crowded, and traffic was the #1 answer, that there's too much traffic in downtown. That was not a survey result answer in 2019 or any other year before that. So this is definitely a newer problem, that there's more traffic going through downtown. That's obviously a good thing. You can tell from our sales tax, that's a good thing. But, I mean, it's definitely going to bring its challenges too. You'll notice that the word nothing is one of the larger ones. That means that a lot of people answered nothing, and the state was quick to point that out when they came to talk through our results. Parking was also something that they said, so I think that really justifies the fact that we just purchased that additional parking lot in downtown. I think that was a smart move. You notice they're talking about the crosswalks, the hours, things like that. So, I just included the 2019 survey result in there so you all could see. In 2019, they said 52% of people said we needed more variety in our stores. That's no longer an answer in 2025. 45% said parking. That is still an answer, so they still think we don't have enough parking. In 2019, people said we had too many vacancies downtown. 40% of the people answered that. Today, we have no vacancies downtown, no ground floor vacancies. There is not a single ground floor vacancy in downtown in the Main Street District. There are some second floor vacancies still. Inconsistent store hours, and then buildings in need of repair was 35% answer in 2019, and I don't think we had anyone answer that on the community survey this time. So I do think that says a lot about the people that have chosen to invest in downtown, the property owners, probably the grant money that the city and the Main Street Group has funded into fixing up those buildings. So I think that was a really good report from the state. They take all this, they bottle it up. We have to refile every year to stay a Main Street community. When we refile, we have to pick a transformation strategy. So based on that data, based on the meetings they had with business owners, and the mayor was there in those meetings, Sam was there in those meetings, they came back and gave us some feedback that they kind of suggested our transformation strategy still be events and entertainment, like that we still are doing a good job with tourism, and that's a big deal, but also adding food and beverage, because we do have so many restaurants downtown now, and it does seem to be a draw when people are asked where it is they're coming. They're saying the Lazy Beagle a lot. They're saying Sweetwater Creamery a lot. So there's a lot of food and beverage type places happening in downtown. So they recommended that as a transformation strategy. So when we apply for that renewal in January, we probably will add that as a second transformation strategy for that. The next thing is the Sweetwater Fair. We had such a good time this last weekend. I can't say enough about all these 5 men out here and all their departments and everything that they did, as well as Sonia, Julie, Haley, all of our volunteers, Margaret and Chad Chester, Larry Anderson, Danette McCrary,
Jessica,
Anita Fioravanti, so many people, Casey Weigel, Tommy Millsaps, just lots of people came out and really helped put this together. I did include in your packet a letter from Marsha Blackburn, just kind of commending us for celebrating the 150 years. Y'all may not know this, but all the other cities around us had 150 year anniversaries recently also, but they didn't make events out of it. So we are just real excited to have an event. So we'll make it out of anything if we need to. But I do think that that committee's been working for 2 years on this, and they've been a great committee. They've shown up every time, and again, we can't do it without the city employees, and they don't argue, they don't whine and say I'm giving up 4 days in a row to be down here in the heat all day long. They just show up and they do a great job, and I'm so appreciative of them. So some of the numbers on the fair: we had over 200 dogs come to Wolfstock on Friday night. We had over 100 register for the Dog of the Year contest, which people can start voting on this week online on Wednesday. We had 1,050 people at Taste of Monroe. Brandy said we gave out 1,050 cartons, so people actually bought tickets at Taste of Monroe. We had more people than that here, but that's how many tickets they actually, had people get containers for. We had multiple vendors that sold out during the fair. The bands were wonderful. The only complaints we got were surrounding the carnival. We tried to get a different carnival this year. We called around, we tried to find another carnival. We're going to still try and do that again next year because they are kind of a rough bunch. I don't know that finding a different carnival solves that problem. I just think that that's kind of who you get when you're hiring carnivals. But I will say we had maybe 4 or 5 complaints. Overwhelmingly, we had positive comments and positive feedback. All 4 or 5 of those complaints were about the carnies cussing when kids were around, or things of that nature. So it wasn't anything drastic. I've gotten a lot of feedback about the drone show. I personally, that was my favorite moment of the fair. Like when that symbol first came up, like I teared up. I loved it so much. The drone show, people were so professional and so easy to work with and so very, very kind. The weather, of course, helped us out a lot, that we had great weather. We've had an ongoing discussion about how Bloom's Bluegrass and Barbecue, the first weekend in May, has had tornadic activity 3 years in a row and a monsoon, and maybe we should move that to a fall festival. Maybe that should be the third weekend in September instead. So we're going to talk about that in our Sampo meeting in October, and maybe come back to the board and ask for your all's blessing on moving that festival, primarily because of weather. But also, there's been so much, I have said over and over, we are only doing one fair, we're never doing it again, I'm retiring before they ever have a fair again. But we've had so much feedback about the fair exhibitor building and how much people love that. So if I could talk Margaret Chester into organizing that again, maybe we'd just move Bloom's Bluegrass and Barbecue to September and let Margaret do the fair exhibits at the fair building. We did have over 100 students and adults participate in turning in those exhibits and things, which was pretty neat. On Placer, I can only get data for Thursday, which is the night we had Taste of Monroe. It'll be a couple more days before I can get Friday and Saturday and Sunday, so I can't give you a full report yet, but we'll let Haley do that at some point. But 59% of the people that came Thursday, anytime during the day, not just during Taste of Monroe, but 59% of people traveled 10 miles outside of the Sweetwater, outside of 37874. They traveled about 10 miles to get here. 86% of the people were within 30 miles. And then it kind of falls off after that. Almost everybody that came was within 250 miles, which is to be expected. But 30 miles is a pretty good trade area for a festival. We're pretty excited, and especially since that was Thursday, which is a more localized event. Taste of Monroe is definitely a Monroe County event. The visitation for Thursday was up 30% over last year on the same date. So that was 4,400 people that were out of market. So outside the 37874 area code, 4,400 people came to Sweetwater on Thursday, and I'm sure a big chunk of that was Taste of Monroe. We surveyed some of our Main Street businesses. We had one newer business that said the heat really helped to drive people into their store and buy stuff, and they were busy all week, not just the 4 days of the fair. They really loved the drone show. One of the other businesses that's been here a while said that any festival that we do always boosts her business, and September is usually the slowest month of the year for her, so she was really excited to get more money. So that kind of added to my, maybe we should move Bloom's Bluegrass and Barbecue. Maybe that's a good move. And then, of course, Sweetwater Creamery said they had huge successes every day. I don't think I ever saw that place empty the entire time that we had the fair. So ice cream's the way to go if you want to sell stuff during a fair. So that's the fair review.
Were the Taste of Monroe people happy with the way it went?
Yeah,
being
she
over
said
here?
she thought she sold about 200 more armbands than they did last year. So it was a good event for them.
curious,
Now,
too.
of course, the other cities are asking them to host it in their city next year. So, oh, you went to Sweetwater this year. You ought to come to Tellico, or you ought to come somewhere else. So she's going to have to deal with that. But she also picked up some new businesses that had never participated in Taste of Monroe before. So I think that made her very happy, too. So it was a good thing for the chamber as well.
It was a lot of fun too.
It was
Never
fun.
been. I'd never been,
Mhm.
and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
What
was.
did we do on the price for the carnival? What we have to
That's
pay?
a very good question. So I don't know if y'all remember this. I was hoping you were half asleep whenever I told you this the first time, but we made an agreement with the carnival to get them to come during fair season to a one-time only event. I basically gave them my firstborn child and said, here, take her, put her to work as a carny. $30,000 is what it costs to get the carnival here. So whatever they didn't make in ticket sales, up to $30,000, we were going to have to make up the difference. They ended up selling 26,000 and change, so we only had to pay 3,600 for the carnival to come. We can't get one. We have to pay $8,000 just to get the carousel here on Small Town Christmas. So that is that was
And if
great.
it hadn't rained,
If it hadn't rained
We might
on
have
Sunday,
not
we
had
probably
paid.
would have hit it because
Yeah.
it was going strong when that rain cloud opened up. Yeah. So anyway, that was really good. That was my biggest stress when that carnival finally sent me those last numbers. I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not going to get fired.
One positive thing about the carnies, they took one of our homeless people away with them.
He's employed now.
I saw him with a Great American Show t-shirt on.
Okay.
He was out there today, had to pack up and rode out of here.
They're headed to Kentucky, so.
They left too?
Oh no.
Right.
Oh, well. They might have swapped us out.
Moving forward.
Yeah, okay.
Tell them the friendly cities now.
The next thing on our agenda, the next thing on the report is the 150th Candlelight will be on December 8th, which is the actual day of incorporation. So December 8th will be our next event. Josh's musical is also in November in the Veterans Day Parade, but December 8th will be the next 150th activity. So we'll be meeting to plan that in a couple of weeks. During that event, we would like to present a memorial for Hunt Commons for Sergeant Joey Hunt, who was killed in action, and we named Hunt Commons for back when Jim Stutz was mayor. That memorial that was originally built was done by students, and over the years it kind of eroded away, and we just needed to take it down because it wasn't quite. And we had talked to the family about it at the time and said we'll replace it with a new memorial. I have ordered that new memorial, we're getting it from White's Marble Works. It's going to be beautiful. It's four-sided. It's tall. I also asked them to put a QR code on it. That QR code scans to a portion of the city's website that goes through a memorial for that fallen soldier and kind of talks about his biography. It's not completely done yet, but I will show you all, because there's already another memorial which is in your packet. You got a thank you card from Janie Richardson and the Sherlin family. That's regarding this. There's a QR code on the bench that was placed downtown at Circle Park, and you can just go to it directly on the website if you want to. But that will take you to Joe Sherlin's memoriam. His family helped pay for that bench and then sent us a bio. They are also going to be recording this bio so that people can listen to it when they go to the QR code. So that's on the city's website, and you can already see that by scanning that QR code on the back of the bench. And then Joey's will be there as well. So, and during that December 8th ceremony, we want to have a special presentation and dedicate that monument. White's Marble Works has told me they think that the monument will be ready by then. So obviously we're celebrating that Sweetwater is 150 years old, but is it? Oh my goodness. Okay, so anyway, that's when we're, that's part of what we're going to be doing December 8th. So I just want to kind of give you all a heads up about that and let you know we've been working on that. And so it's a long time coming, and I'll be glad to see that.
You know where you're going to put it?
I kind of think it's going to be in that front quadrant of Hunt Commons. If the clock is here, it'd be like in the green area right there at the corner, so that as people, because most of the traffic to the depot is coming across the railroad tracks kind of at an angle there, so that way they would see it as they cross it. But if you all have other ideas about where to put it, I don't think it matters to White's. Like, I think they can put it where we need it. We didn't have any infrastructure right there in that lot, so we knew we could dig there. But any other thoughts? Okay. All right. Of course, his family's been working with me this whole time and bringing us pictures, and they'll all be center point in that. And I've got Eric Weaver is going to reach out to his former service members and stuff that served with him, and they're going to come to that celebration also. So I think it'll be good.
Very cool.
State shared taxes. This is weird, and I just happened to see it on a MTAS notice or on our town and city, maybe the TML thing. They are going to start changing our state shared taxes from the state. Instead of using the census estimates, they're going to use MTAS's calculated estimates, which I'll just tell you, usually they err on the side of us. Like, instead of saying we only have 6,000 people, the MTAS estimate is 6,500, or it's always a little bit higher than what the census one is. And that's because they're using traffic counts, they're using, they're using more data than just what the census is using. But so now when the state splits up and says you're getting a portion for gasoline tax, you're getting a portion of state shared sales tax, or anything that's done per capita, we will get a higher percentage of that. So when we just ran some basic numbers using MTAS's estimate, it could be as much as $60,000 a year that it would benefit us for the state to do it this way instead of using the census numbers. So I just want to give you a heads up about that. I also put a publication in there if you want to read through it and kind of get a bigger understanding about what that means and how they're going to calculate it. And it will run a year behind because they run the calculation through like July 1st. So they'll use that for the coming year, and then every July 1st they'll update it. But that also means there's less of a reason for us to do a special census. And I think they say somewhere in this letter, it was like 11 or 13 cities have done special censuses since 2020 because, one, that census was not a great census because it was right in the middle of COVID when that was going on. Two, people don't like the government anymore. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but they don't like it when you knock on their door and say, how old are you and how much money do you make and what's your race and how many kids do you have living here? They don't like that. So the census results are just kind of meh, and cities have been doing their own special census. So they think that this is going to help cities to not have to do special censuses often because they're going to do it by MTAS's estimate instead of by what the census numbers are. I just wanted to let y'all know I'm going to be attending the Tennessee City Managers Association conference this week. I'm really excited. Last year it was a wonderful conference. There were some great speakers. So I will leave Tuesday night and I won't be back until Friday. So I'll be out the rest of the week. I'll still have access to my email and cell phone if y'all need anything in the meantime. On the industrial development that's going on at I-75, that group called again this afternoon. They think they have all their numbers together that they're going to be working on before they decide to officially, buy the property and make the offer. And they want me to come up there and meet with them again tomorrow. So I'll be up there tomorrow afternoon. We don't know that we have the water capacity still. Like, that's still the big question. Even if we can connect Watts Bar Utility in with Sweetwater Utility and both of them supply capacity, we don't know that we can hit that 1,500 gallons per minute number, which would mean either we have to upgrade a water line running from the new tank under the interstate to the site to a 12-inch line, or they have to put a water tower there. So in order to meet their fire suppression needs. So that's probably going to be the biggest thing to talk about. He has said that he may not even need to request a TIF if some of this other stuff comes together and works out, which I think he's been really happy with the electrical. He really liked the utility board's policy on electrical and gas. He knows that that's not going to be where the cost is. It's definitely going to be in water. So something to file away in the back of your mind. We'll be talking about that more as we go. And of course, the annexation and zoning is on the agenda for October 6th. As of right now, it's still on there. They may call me 2 minutes before the meeting and say we want to table that until November. We did double check with planning when they were here at the planning commission meeting, and Jordan said it was fine to do the first reading on zoning by itself and then do the annexation and the second reading on zoning in the November meeting if we wanted to. So if we did want to table the annexation, we could, because the zoning takes 2 readings, so it doesn't really go into effect until the second meeting anyway. I'm reminding you we have a meeting with our city attorney after this meeting, specifically about the tax sale. That'll be a closed meeting executive session for pending legislation or pending litigation. And then Sweetwater High School. We think this deserves its own meeting. We don't want to try and cram this into a meeting like this where we've got 25 other things that we're talking about. We really want to in detail go through the numbers for what maintenance of effort will require. It's time to talk to you all about that. It's time to talk to the city school board about that. So I think Rodney is planning on having his regular school board meeting because of fall break earlier than usual on Tuesday, October 7th. So the question is, can we all meet in a workshop session with the city school board on Tuesday, October 7th. I haven't worked out location yet. I just wanted to figure out if date was possible. I'm assuming we'll probably go there since they have a meeting then at 6 following that workshop.
5 o'clock?
5 o'clock, Tuesday, October 7th.
I know a lot of people have been approaching me about just different questions. I'm sure the board may have questions. Could we compile some questions? Are you all getting questions about the high school? I mean, just out of curiosity.
3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I
I
mean,
mean, I feel like they're legitimate questions that need to be answered. So if we can compile, maybe some to give to the board.
Mm-hmm. I do think Janet's got her PowerPoint ready. John, me, Janet, and Rodney have all gone through the numbers. And I've told Janet, this is what our board doesn't know about, and this is what we need to know about. So, and most of it's financial wise. So if you have questions besides the finance side, it would be a great idea if we could send those to them ahead of time and let them get some information together. The finance side, I feel like you're going to understand it all by the time she gets done with her presentation. She's very good at what she does. School finance is very complicated. We get money from taxpayers, and we get money from the state, and we get money from grants, and that's pretty much it. Schools are a whole different ballgame. They get a little bit from property tax, a little bit from sales tax, a little bit, and it's different entities, and it's based on student population, but it's not, if I can have the same 600 students, but this one needs English as a second language instruction, and this one needs special education, and this one's gifted, and this one doesn't have anything. They all get a different amount from the state. So it is incredibly complicated. But Janet knows what she's talking about, and that's why I didn't want us to have this meeting separately. I wanted us to be two boards together sitting down and getting all the same information. Some of this stuff has changed with the TISA formula compared to how it used to be. But I do think right now, so far, TISA has been more beneficial to our system. Some of the questions we've asked in prior meetings, like if the county contributes at all to the city school system. Some of our county property tax, the county trustee writes a check every single month or every single year to the city school system. And that will continue whether it's a county school or a city school. So there is a portion of property taxes that is part of the local allocation. The maintenance of effort numbers we're going to be talking about. You're going to see a number of $4 million. That does not mean the city writes a check for $4 million. That means that between the local option property tax and the local option sales tax and every portion of that comes together, plus the check that the city writes, has to be that amount. So Janet's going to go through all that stuff with you all. I think it'd be a really important meeting for you all to be there if everybody can be there. So, is that a good date for everyone as far as we know? Tuesday, October 7th?
5:30?
5 o'clock?
5, okay.
Yeah. And then they'll have their regular meeting at 6. So I guess anything we don't get answered during the workshop, maybe we can continue on through there. But that'll be their regular business meeting at 6. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna tell Rodney that we're good on that then.
Who do we need to send questions to?
You can send
John?
them to me.
Okay.
You can send them to me if you like.
Okay.
I'd be glad to share them with Rodney and the
Absolutely.
rest of the board. Obviously.
It needs to be done by next week. I mean, by the middle of next week, no less,
Yeah,
probably.
and if it's specifically related to school finance, obviously Janet's gonna be
Yes.
who answers that. But yeah, any questions you've got, we'll be glad to
Okay.
answer.
Okay.
And I do think Janet and Rodney are going to be telling their board individually that they can come talk to them, and they're going to speak to them kind of one-on-one beforehand to kind of fill them in on some of the things too. So we want everybody to be on the same page and have all the same information. So, I think that's everything I had. I
Okay.
think I'm done, Mayor.
You're- Finally. No, I love the direction that our sweet town is moving in. So thank you, Jessica, for honestly all your hard work. And I do want to commend our employees, our volunteers on a great weekend. I have heard nothing. You might have heard some negatives. I have heard nothing. It's just been all raves, and I'm so very proud of that. So thank you. So on our October meeting will be the 6th. And our regular board meeting, and we will have the minutes and distributions as always. And we'll also have a public hearing for ordinance 1056 to make the purchase of our downtown lot, and then a final reading on that ordinance. So, and of course, we do have the meeting on October 7th at 5. Anybody have anything else? Okay.
The flood
Flood.
amendments, where did those come from?
Yes.
I'll hit that if you want.
Yeah, go ahead, John. I'm sorry, I've got that.
A few items for you. The floodplain ordinance, basically updating that, it was a FEMA requirement, so it's not just Sweetwater. It's, FEMA had emailed me a couple months ago and said that FEMA was redrawing the maps or making some amendments to their map, the flood insurance rate maps. Specifically for Monroe County, there's no change. Our floodplain didn't change, our floodway didn't change. There were some changes in the flood elevation south of us in McMinn, and I think maybe in Bradley County, some slight changes, but nothing changed. But even still, we had to basically amend our ordinance, update our floodplain ordinance. So now you see a plat, instead of referencing the 2010 FEMA flood maps, it'll reference the 2025 FEMA flood maps. They will be the most current flood maps. So we did review that, the ordinance. John reviewed it, I reviewed it, I think maybe Jessica and Mayor Kyle reviewed it. So what you guys have is the revised copy. I got an email today from FEMA that said that FEMA had looked at it, so FEMA sent it on to FEMA, they reviewed it and initially approved that. So basically now, once you guys approve it, we gotta send it back to FEMA because they need a signed copy, the actual ordinance with the signatures on there. We have to send that back to FEMA, then it becomes official. So nothing changed as far as the floodplain elevations. It's just they're updating the maps, and everybody across the state had to adopt a new ordinance.
Thank you, John.
The part that's in there about trailer parks, I think, or mobile home parks. And no changes to that. So this won't affect the folks down the intersection.
It's nothing changed. The only addition, I think, to this whatsoever was, I think we did put a slight fee, whereas our old ordinance said, it didn't say an amount. It just said, shall be charged blank amount, and in parentheses, it literally said amount for any legal fees or registration fees. So if someone files, or gets a study done, floodplain study, and we have to do anything, record anything, then we're allowed to charge them a fee, for that. But that's it. I mean, none of the elevations changed, none of the verbiage changed. It's basically just going in and filling in the blanks that were already there, as far as who's, I think as far as the floodplain administrator, the building official, is the
Yes.
and that would come to be my title. You know, as far as you guys being the governing body, it's, the mayor and board of commissioner. So it was literally just going in and filling in those blanks. But that's the way it was before, nothing really changed.
Is that good? Okay, just a heads up, Jessica, she reviewed the tourism grant in her report, and in October, we will authorize the grant contract. And also, in the October meeting, we will have 2 applications from Bargain Barn for the United Grocery Outlet, who is applying for beer permit and a wine in the grocery store permit. So you will vote on their certificate of compliance in the regular meeting, then adjourn and convene as the beer board to vote on the beer permit. So, department heads, do you have anything pressing?
It's regular business, getting caught up on truck maintenance, building maintenance. We have received, with FEMA grants getting harder to get, and unfortunately, MTS says we should never do it, but we do rely on grants quite a bit to operate the fire department and buy equipment, that kind of stuff. They're getting harder and harder to get, so we've started going after private, grants, and we have received a couple in the last few months, one from Colonial Pipeline, one from Norfolk Southern. We've got several more out there that we're waiting answers on, that we're buying equipment with and that type of stuff, but, other than that, start fire hydrant testing tomorrow. Other than that, regular business.
Chief?
You've probably noticed over the last few weeks, we've had a lot more cars out on the road. We've been able to do that through the Governor's Highway Safety Grant. And, it ends in 1 month, but fortunately, Jordan Moore, for some reason I always find another name, but Jordan Moore, he oversees that program for us, and he has just worked on getting that down together. And, it'll start again, and we'll be able to do that, and that allows us to put the officers out there, and I think, correct, it's $30,000 overtime, that it allows us to have officers out and they're working, doing safety stuff, and we were able to pay for them being down at the intersection, because they passed out pamphlets, stuff like that. Kinda also some that we've been working on, and, it's an everyday thing, and you have to do it, but we've been working on keeping people moving along, that sometimes don't just come in and stay longer than they probably should, so we've been working on that, and we've really amped our, sex offenders, searching everybody for sex offenders, because a lot of times the sex offender will be transit, now this go from one community to the next, so that's something that I've really, John Scruggs is doing a great job with it, Franco's helping with it. I mean, they're going around, and anybody that they find that doesn't have a place or moving on there, to make sure that either they're registered or they're getting registered. Because a lot of people may think, well, why do you want to fool with the register? Well, we want to get everybody registered, and that way you can at least have them in the books. And then when they move and don't report again, that's a violation.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty much it. Like John said, just everyday activities, take them and move on.
Thank you. John, do you have anything else?
I do, Jim, Commissioner Stubbs had asked about the floodplain ordinance, that was one of the things I had to speak to you guys about. The other one was, an annexation resolution that, comes to you guys as a recommendation from the planning commission, just to talk about that a little bit out there, the Kazana property along I-75. So, we'll have that resolution to consider. Along with that is the plan of services that you have to look at as well. It's all pretty standard, Sweetwater Utility Board would be supplying those utilities. Obviously, our police and fire would be providing coverage out there as well. But one thing that makes this one a little bit unique is Pleasant Grove Road. That stretch of Pleasant Grove Road is currently a county maintained road. If this property is annexed into the city, if this goes through and we annex that, then those portions just along, only that portion of Pleasant Grove Road that fronts those properties. On the left, it would be where the helipad is, the livestock, and on the right would be this Kazana property. But just that stretch of road would have to be basically adopted by the city for a city street to be maintained by our streets department. So just so everyone's clear on that, I think maybe there's some talk and negotiation going on with Monroe County about some of the upgrades that are being proposed out there, and we need them to maybe help with that to keep this project moving forward. But at the end of the day, if you guys decide to annex that property, they ask that be adopted as a city street, then it would be ours to maintain just for that portion along the annexed property. It wouldn't be on out Pleasant Grove Road as you get out into the county. Just the stub that connects to us. Just so everybody's clear on that, the plan of services. Also, the zoning, the zoning ordinance that would be attached with this, the map, the zoning map is basically, that would be attached with the resolution as well. We don't have the zoning ordinance yet in hand, East Tennessee Development District working on that, but it would be zoned M1 industrial, what they intend to use this property for. So that ordinance would also be attached to the M1 zoning, and that's what Jessica was talking about. The zoning could be approved even if the annexation was taken off of the table, because the zoning doesn't truly take effect until after the second reading. The resolution is one reading, so that's clear as mud to everybody. The third thing I've got on that specific site is, again, on recommendation from the planning commission, they had made a special exception or a request for special exceptions to allow the building heights to exceed our municipal code limits it to 35 feet. Building in M1 industrial, they've asked to go up to 50 feet. Most of the state-of-the-art buildings that they build go up to 50 feet in height, which is basically what Red Stack is at now. And so the special exception that was drafted for us by East Tennessee Development District basically says anything that's zoned M1 along that I-75 corridor. So you guys grant a special exception up to 50 feet building height. It would not include any other M1 zoning, say for instance downtown along Main Street. There's a lot of M1 down there from years ago when all the industry followed the creek or the railroad. So this wouldn't necessarily allow any of them to go up to 50 feet high and block the views of Main Street.
Great.
John, do you want that on the October 6th meeting agenda as ordinance 1058?
Yeah, if you want to, I don't have a number attached to it. I've got the blank ordinance drafted, but
It'll be 1058. Okay, we'll put that on for October 6th also.
Okay, yeah, every weekend.
Find out if I'm catching something.
Yeah.
It's from yelling at high school kids on Friday night.
Tanya, you have anything back there? Awesome. Okay, beautiful. Eddie Thompson, how's your first month on the job been, Eddie?
It's been going great, very, very busy.
Great.
We have a lot of things. Jones Park, we got the lights fixed over there. Get new lights for the lights. Get that fixed.
I saw several Facebook posts over the weekend about the lights at Jones Park being fixed. People really appreciated that.
Well, and the athletic field state, soccer is wide open right now, and I got a text right before the meeting today, said that soccer fields look amazing.
Oh,
So that kind of puts a smile on my face, you know.
absolutely.
We're planning on doing some irrigation on the upper soccer field. Utility board really come through for us. They're gonna put us a tap, a
Good.
So you know, it's a lot going on, so.
It's looking great, everything.
We're getting a lot of positive, feedback, so
Good.
I'm proud.
Thank you, thank you. David, what you got, buddy?
Just pretty much the same stuff. We're mowing the sides of the roads, picking up brush and demolition, cleaning out ditches. We got, both of our backhoes are broken down right now, so, I mean, and we're still keeping up with the brush, even with no backhoes, so it's a little bit harder on the guys.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you more than you know. Anybody else? Anybody? Okay, well, we will adjourn, and immediately, do we want to just have everyone leave?
Yeah.
Just
You
y'all
don't have
leave.
to go home, but you
You
can't
guys
stay here.
can't stay here.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, Eddie.